Yagi antenna was both a hands-on learning experience and a test of patience and problem-solving skills. From the very beginning, I knew that building a functional antenna would require attention to detail and careful handling of each component to ensure that the final product would work as intended. To begin the assembly, I started with the reflector, which is an essential part of the Yagi antenna. The reflector is responsible for reflecting signals toward the active element, increasing the overall gain and directionality of the antenna. I placed the reflector in its designated position and carefully aligned it with the support frame. Once it was properly aligned, I used a wrench to screw the bolts tightly into place. This step was important because any looseness in the reflectors could lead to a reduction in any signal strength and stability. I double-checked to make sure the reflector was firm and Next, I moved on to installing the folded dipole, which is the main receiving element of the antenna. The folded dipole is designed to capture the radio waves and convert them into electrical signals that can be transmitted to the television. I positioned it carefully, and just like with the reflector, I screwed the bolts tightly to secure it to the frame. The folded dipole had to be perfectly aligned and stable, as any tilt or instability could impact the antenna's ability to receive signals properly. The next step was to mount the entire antenna assembly on a supporting structure. In this case, I used a sturdy piece of bamboo. Bamboo was chosen not only because it is lightweight and readily available, but also because it can provide a good height when placed upright, which is crucial for signal reception. I lifted the antenna and placed it carefully on the bamboo, making sure it was balanced properly. After the antenna was securely mounted on the bamboo, I proceeded to connecting the transmission wire. This wire carried the signal from the antenna to the television. I stripped the ends of the wire and attached them to the correct terminals of the antenna, ensuring a firm and clean connection. I used a screwdriver to tighten the screws on the terminals and making sure there was no chance of the wire slipping out. Once the wire was connected to the antenna, I ran the other end of the wire through a window and into the room where the television was located. I carefully plugged the wire into the antenna input port on the back of the TV. With everything connected, I was ready to test the antenna to see if it would successfully receive a notification prompt. At this point, I turned on the TV and began scanning for channels. However, the process was not as easy as I had hoped. The initial results were disappointing, as the screen displayed only static or no signal messages. I went outside and adjusted the angle and direction of the antenna several times, hoping to improve its reception. I also tried raising the bamboo pole a little higher to see if the increased elevation would help. Despite my efforts, it was difficult to find a stable. Finally, after what felt like a long and tiring search, the antenna caught a stable signal. First channel that appeared on the screen was GMA7. It was a moment of triumph and relief. All the hard work, adjustments, and patience had paid off. Seeing a clear and stable broadcast on the television screen gave me a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction, knowing that the antenna I had built by hand was now functioning correctly.